This is the final chapter of My Hero Academia. We have our last color spread of Class A to celebrate an incredible 10 years of serialization. And here's Horikoshi's final author comment for the series. I'm so glad I could be published in Jump. I'm so happy for everyone who read it. Thank you so much. Deku's final exchange with Shigaraki came to mind. It's already destroyed. It all depends on what you'll do tomorrow. Deku echoed the very first words of this story. People are not born equal. He was in a UA staff room. Individually, everyone looks different. He believes that this allows people to empathize with each other. His weathered hands wrote everything with a diligence similar to All Might's. He continued to say that mental and physical differences invite us to move towards others and search for common ground. Just then, Kota entered the room and called out to Deku before correcting himself since Deku is a teacher now. He wanted to know where they should meet for their practice today. Deku responded that they'd be meeting at the bus stop so they could go to USJ, the very training grounds where he and his friends first encountered Shigaraki. Deku learned all these things about society when he was 17 years old, and it looks like since then, Deku has finally learned how to tie a tie. In the past, Deku heard many voices of encouragement and prayers. Those same voices kept him in good spirits. If caring about others was the first step to becoming a hero, then on that day, they were all the greatest heroes. Deku wound up returning home to his mother just like he promised. However, Horikoshi did not include Deku's father in the story like he promised. All Might went on to care for Gran Torino and Recovery Girl as they advanced in age. And impressively, All Might can still walk after what All For One did to his legs. School life went on normally. Mirko didn't stop being a hero and wound up with even wilder prosthetic limbs. Class A and Class B had more training sessions together. As the remaining members of the Lurkers, Mount Lady and Kamui Woods continued their hero work as a duo. Joji was praised for his contributions to the heteromorphic community alongside Kota. Eri and Kota got closer. Tokoyami kept hanging out with Hawks. Eraserhead and President Mike paid their respects to their fallen friend, Shirakumo. Enji and Rei continued to be supported by the former members of Endeavor's agency. Melissa Shield paid the members of Class A a visit. As he held onto the final embers of One For All, Deku felt a sense of gratitude for being able to live a dream that should have been impossible. A sentiment that is surely felt by Horikoshi himself. He thought about how his story began when his body moved ahead of his thoughts. Spinner's book, The League of Villains, made it to print, and it doesn't look like he followed Deku's advice of making a comic book. Bakugo is regaining strength in his right arm thanks to unrelenting rehabilitation. Deku and Uraraka enjoyed the winter together. Mr. Compress enjoyed Spinner's book. Eventually, Deku's heroic story came to an end, along with the embers of One For All. But he continued to write because there are still a few more pages left. As class president, Ida represented the third-year class at their graduation ceremony. And in honor of the precedent set by the school's alumni, Bakugo and Monoma crashed through the wall behind him to celebrate. It has now been 8 years since the war ended. For a class of middle schoolers, high school entrance exams were swiftly approaching. Their teacher planned on giving them future career forms to be filled out. One of the kids, who looks like a cross between Mina and Monoma, announced that he plans on entering UA's hero course, while one of his classmates, who looks like Makabe from Ketsubutsu Academy with hair, wanted to join Lightly Lab. Apparently, support items are all the rage these days. Lightly Lab is the support item design company that Mei works for. Bibimi had to hold her nose since Mei hadn't showered in way too long. Another kid wanted to become a doctor like Ryu Yoshida. That way, they'd be able to tend to people that most would consider beyond saving. So we finally have the Yoshi doctor's name, and it seems like he made quite the name for himself. The miraculous recoveries of Bakugo and All Might likely played a part. Then Horikoshi gave the furry community another one for the road as another student mentioned Gel Inc., a programming company founded by the now married Gentle and La Brava, that became famous after an apparent cyber war that happened 5 years ago. And that totally sounds like the setup for a movie or side story. The boisterous kid from before mocked his classmate for wanting to become a hero. He told Dai that he wouldn't be able to become a hero with a quirk like his. The rate of new villains keeps getting lower and lower, and the number of heroes has mostly stabilized. Society was approaching a point where only the strongest would be able to become heroes. Dai visited the rebuilt Kamino ward in the midst of spring. He thought to himself that people have changed. There were convenience store ads for Wash brand detergent and Shishido noodles. When Dai was younger, everyone wanted to be like All Might, Endeavor, Best Jeanist, Deku, Shoto, or Great Explosion God Dynamite. So I guess Bakugo dropped the murder part of his name. Dai thought to himself that he's the only one who's still dreaming like that. But whenever he feels anxious, he always returns to the same place. Just before everything hit the fan with the first war, Dai visited All Might's statue alongside his mother ahead of his first day of school. The sight of it filled him with courage, and now he sought the same comfort. Joji is an absolute unit now. As a hero tentacle, he's been racking up impressive feats since his debut. His peaceful resolution of prejudice-based incidents in smaller cities where they're most rampant were especially great. Koda and Bondo were there to cheer him on as he accepted the Imamura Peace Prize. Joji dedicated the accolade to the people who revolted 8 years ago. He said that this was thanks to their will. Meanwhile, Ingenium, Froppy, Creati, and Uravity teamed up to visit grade schools across Japan. The rate of villainous incidents continued to decline as the operation range of heroes continued to broaden. Uraraka pioneered the Quirk Counseling Expansion Project to prevent situations like Toga's from ever happening again. It is now considered one of the most essential aspects of their society. Uraraka's costume also has a metal neckpiece now, and I imagine it's there in honor of Deku. But honestly, it looks more like Ida's neckpiece. I suppose a lot can change in 8 years. Eri doesn't go to school at UA, but she does have friends. Her horn grew back, and she plays an instrument. Eraserhead has a new haircut, and showed his phone to Deku. Aizawa told his student-turned-colleague that his childhood friend would be dropping in popularity yet again. It was a recording of Bakugo yelling at a reporter for being too close. Deku reminded Aizawa that he tried his best to clear up that behavior, but all of that seemed pretty pointless at this point. At the very least, he expected Shoto to shoot up in the rankings. Shoto's hair is a bit shorter now. He continues to solve incidents at all hours of the day, which is reminiscent of his father's best quality. And although he's a bit awkward, he treats his fans very well. These days, no one really refers to him as Endeavor's son. Deku added that soon, Shoto would surpass Mount Lady and Kamui Woods. From there, he'd be toe-to-toe with the #1 hero, Lemillion. Monoma and Juzo were also doing pretty well for themselves. Recently, Mirio was screaming about how scared he is of losing his spot while laughing. It would have been nice to have gotten at least a glimpse of him, but oh well. Aizawa wondered if Deku felt lonely. Deku didn't respond directly, but he mentioned a revelation he had when Aizawa spoke with Fuwa after the war. That even if he goes back to being quirkless, he'd still be able to use his experience as a means of encouraging others. He smiled and believed that this was cool in its own way. Then he asked if Aizawa thinks he's cool. And Aizawa is the perfect man to ask since Shigaraki never failed to call him that. Deku's former teacher just told him that he should be stricter with his students. That killed Deku's vibe immediately. But Aizawa continued to hammer the point. These days, kids think that just getting into UA is enough to guarantee them great futures as professional heroes. So it was up to them to be rigid as a means of preventing arrogance. But Deku remembered Aizawa being pretty kind to him and his friends. Later, Deku passed by some statues dedicated to him and the others. Once they became adults, it got harder and harder for Deku to see his friends. He passed by a shop that was selling Tokoyami hair products. Red Riot is now a very popular hero among men. The media sought to unravel his surprising origin story. In front of Deku were 2 kids pretending to be like Kirishima. Seeing everyone live their dreams as heroes made Deku very happy. and whenever he feels nostalgic about their time together at UA, he goes to Kamino to visit a certain statue. Just then, Deku noticed that one of the kids was about to trip and fall, and that very same compulsively heroic spirit had him rushing to the child's aid. But as he caught him, another kid fell while releasing discs into the air. The little kid loudly thanked Deku like a true Kirishima fan before leaving. Then Dai looked up. He started freaking out and called out to Deku with every name he knew. He couldn't believe his eyes. Deku was a bit embarrassed and handed the kid a handkerchief. He learned that Dai would be taking the UA entrance exams. Then Dai mentioned how things were quickly changing, that people with comparably weak quirks like his couldn't keep up, which was why he came to ask the All Might statue a question. Deku waited for the kid to continue. Dai wanted to know if he could become a hero like Deku and All Might. Deku looked at him with wide eyes. He smiled when he remembered being in a similar position and asking All Might the same thing. Deku responded by assessing Dai's quirk. It allows him to throw plates that come from his hair. He suggests that Dai take inspiration from Mineta by throwing several at once. This would enhance their strength, and since Dai can change their sizes, it's also a bit versatile. Dai was thrown off but assumed that this was Deku's way of encouraging him. Deku told Dai not to worry. He saw him try and help that kid from before. Now that Deku's dream has come true, it's his turn to spur on the dreams of others. Deku told Dai that he can be a hero. All Might's statue is now surrounded by several others modeled after regular people with heroic spirits. Dai looked at him with eyes that practically glowed. Deku flashed him a smile and, like All Might, told the kid to do his best. Another day, Deku had to admit that he does feel a bit lonely. So much for all that shipping stuff, huh? But he was content with the ability to simply encourage others. As he approached UA, Deku finally concluded the story of how they all became the greatest heroes. This is the end of My Hero Academia. Or at least it was before Grandpa All Might crushed the word END in the palm of his hand. The symbol of elderly peace wondered what took Deku so long. His protege responded that he would have gone to the airport if he had been told sooner. But All Might wanted to surprise him with a gift. Deku wondered if it was a tapestry. Instead, All Might explained that the data from his mechanized fight against All For One opened up some crazy technological possibilities. He continued to say that technology continues to evolve alongside the evolution of quirks. The case he presented had the number 18 on it. With One For All, Deku successfully made use of multiple quirks. And now, data would be collected from his use of the technology. Deku was stunned. The creation looked really expensive. In fact, All Might liquidated all of his assets to afford his own suit and car 8 years ago. Toshinori added that the technology was collaboratively created by Melissa Shield and Hatsume Mei. It was also funded by Deku's pro-hero friends from Class A, a financial effort that was spearheaded by his biggest supporter, Bakugo. After all, Deku's body could still move. All Might told his successor to take this to heart, that he had earned this power too, fair and square. Tears fell as Deku smiled as brightly as he could. Later, Bakugo extended a hand while telling Deku to get a move on. His right hand, by the way. It looks like Horikoshi decided to give the plot army one final victory at the very end because we predicted all this technology stuff to the letter. Hawks enjoyed a drink while wondering if heroes had more time to kill these days. A landslide was causing traffic issues, so they needed heroes on the scene. Deku looked back and saw the spirit of Shigaraki smiling back at him. This is the story of how they'll all keep reaching out their hands forever. We have every Class A time skip design, and everyone looks incredible. Deku is now wearing the most expensive hero costume of all time, and I am very happy to see that he has a cape again. Bakugo traded his big hair decorations for ropes with explosive ends. Mineta has a bit of a vine on his head and a goatee. It looks like his growth spurt might have gotten lost in the mail. Ida's costume somehow looks even cooler, but because of it, we actually don't know what he looks like as an adult. And I guess the same goes for Invisible Girl. Mina's horns are elongated like they were during her awakened state. That is an insane power-up. Kaminari's style has evolved tremendously. Zero's transparent helmet looks really cool. Hiroshima looks like a fully grown lion. Shinso doesn't even look like the same character, what a glow-up. Zato looks like he's pushing 40, Jiro has one-sided headphones over her severed earlobe, and it looks like Momo has something similar on too. Ojiro looks grown. Koda looks more interesting than ever, he's totally changed his look. And Oyama is back like he never left. Now there is mention of us being able to look forward to Horikoshi's next work. I am really happy to know that our guy is not done bringing us incredible stories. He even graced us with a shot of Deku to celebrate the 10th anniversary and finale. Aside from the continuation of its anime and 4th movie, there are 6 My Hero Academia commemoration projects on the way. 1. A digital manuscript app service, whatever that means. 2. The final volume of the story, Volume 42, will be available on December 4th. 3. A fan book will be released in January 2025. 4. An art book, which I need right now, will be released in April 2025. 5. A special exhibition is planned for summer 2025. And 6. A secret project will be announced on August 5th of this year. As you might expect, plenty of fans are praying that this secret project is a sequel or continuation. And considering everything else that's already confirmed, I really hope that's the case. Even if it doesn't happen immediately, Horikoshi did say that they'll keep being heroes forever. He's never been opposed to other creators making use of his characters or world. So even if he's not the one behind it, based on how incredible the Vigilante spin-off series was, a follow-up is certainly possible. But now, allow me to be a bit sappy because whatever the case, I am immensely grateful to each and every one of you for watching this or any other video from us that you may have come across. My Hero Academia means more to me than I can properly express, and your support has meant the world. Besides the 5 years that we've spent covering this series, Deku's example of analyzing heroes and chasing his dreams at the beginning of the story, despite certain adversity, was a major catalyst to me pursuing this whole YouTube thing in the first place. Funny enough, I've been doing this for 8 years now. It hasn't always been easy, and times have definitely changed. Although you'd never know, your comments and enthusiasm have been there for me during some of the most challenging moments of my life. So even if this is the last time you ever hear my voice, I want you to know how much that means to me. Some people are a bit thrown off by my sentimental outro to these videos, but I've been doing it for ages, and considering how much I cherish your happiness, anything less would feel inadequate. So, as always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome life. I love you.